Just wait 10 seconds.
Welcome back, folks. This is False Flag Nation. Thanks for tuning in. Today we got a special show for you tonight. We're going to kind of veer away from the more political topics we've been focusing on the last few weeks, obviously with the Patriot Act renewal going on in Congress and everything. We couldn't really ignore that, but that is not the only type of stuff we cover on this show. We cover all manner of
Hot topics.
Fringe topics, conspiracy theories, so-called occultic or Gnostic knowledge, which really, those words just mean hidden, doesn't necessarily have the
But it sounds
black
a lot cooler,
magic
doesn't it?
connotation. Yes, but it does sound a lot cooler if you use these esoteric terms. I mean, that's what we do here. We delve into the weird and unconventional. And today we're going to be talking about the growing transhumanism movement.
Absolutely.
Now, this is a movement which has been going on for quite some time now. You hear the most about it these days from a lot of these like Silicon Valley types like Ray Kurzweil and Peter Thiel's a big investor in that. He's like the guy who invented PayPal. But the basic idea behind transhumanism, my understanding, is that this is an attempt to transcend the human condition as it currently exists with the aid of technology to physically enhance our physical bodies, our health, our intellectual capacities to the point where we're no longer, normal Homo sapiens as we exist right now. We've effectively transformed, hence the name, into a new species of superhumans, almost demigod-like beings. And we're going to be talking about the feasibility of this, what's been going on in recently with that, where it's going in the future, and is this a good idea? And the various pundits' takes on this, we have ranging from very much in favor of it, versus Luciferian conspiracy from the Stephen Quayle side of the spectrum. So, Mr. Revere, it's hard to know where to dive into this, but what are your thoughts? What is the best angle at which we should attack this?
I mean, let's look at the positive aspects first. Why don't we look at that?
Sure.
I mean, that'll be a pretty short list, in my opinion. But, the idea of prolonging human life.
Yep.
The idea of making humans smarter, faster, stronger.
Yep. Whole race of
really,
$6 million men. Yeah.
I mean, to a degree, there's nothing really wrong with that. We've been doing that with medicine. We've been doing that with education.
Human lifespan's gone because of shit like penicillin and stuff like that.
So, right off the bat, should we reject it? Probably not. We've been doing transhumanism activities for the past 200 years. I mean, progressing, it doesn't matter what you call it, but I think it's not necessarily a bad thing to make human life better on Earth.
I see what you're saying. You can make the argument just things like organ transplants,
right,
like prosthetic limbs. Is that not a very primitive form of transhumanism there?
I mean, if you could take a heart from another human being and put it in somebody else, isn't that incredible? And it's, I think, pretty positive.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that? Nothing.
It looks good on paper.
It looks good on paper. However, when you start getting into, and there is a thin line, but when you start getting into, detaching someone's memories or their personality, there's all sorts of films about this and whatnot, and keeping it in some sort of database and uploading it to a cyborg body or some sort of
this is like I think it was RoboCop 2.
Something like that.
There's this super villain. I'm not sure if you remember this, but they took like his whole brain and spinal cord and like disconnected it from his body and placed it inside this this robot body that had like a brain canister it could plug into and all this neurons were synced up with the machine, so he was running around. You know, of course, they put a criminal's mind
Right.
inside what they believed would be the RoboCop successor, and it just ended up killing everyone. It kept it actually the guy was addicted to heroin, and he kept injecting heroin into his robot body somehow to get high,
and it didn't
off
work.
it.
Wow.
But yeah, but that's
the general idea.
Yeah, somewhat prophetic in the sense of like things that could go wrong.
Yeah, and it's scary.
With this.
And, you know, there's also, like you said, there's all sorts of takes on this. You know, is this a Luciferian conspiracy to reject God's humans that were created? Is
the way things naturally are.
Exactly. Is, you know, because, and let's step back too. I mean, what would the people in the 16th century think of organ transplants and stuff like that now?
Oh, you'd be a sorcerer.
Exactly.
You'd be tied to a stake.
Yes.
Like,
so you have to look at this stuff with a different.
Everyone knows the proper treatment for a tumor is a bleeding
or a leech or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm torn on it, but my gut tells me that nothing good can come of this.
But it seems like one of these things. There's so much potential for abuse with it, because, like, you know, if you look at the I guess like the Wikipedia definition of what the transhumanist movement is all about, it says an international cultural and intellectual movement with an eventual goal of fundamentally transforming the human condition by developing and making widely available technologies to enhance human intellect and physical and psychological capacities. Again, sounds great when you're just reading it. But let's take a closer look at that sentence, making widely available. That's the part I think, do you really see that happening? No, I see, this is the kind of technology I see being hoarded and like used only by an elite. And, you know, it's, I don't think it's a coincidence this sort of stuff is being pushed in, like Silicon Valley, like Palo Alto region. That's where the Methuselah Foundation is based. They're like a non-profit organization that which Peter Thiel gives like $500,000 to each year, and they basically fund research for anyone who can stop aging and like basically create like biological immortality or reverse aging.
Right.
And again, like that's not technology that I see being widely available. I mean, for God's sakes, like cutting edge cancer treatments are out of reach for a lot of people that are suffering from cancer.
Exactly.
So people that are quote unquote suffering from aging, do you really think the average person suffering from aging is going to have access to this stuff when it's available? I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be reserved for the Mr. Burns type, or the you know what I'm talking about, the ultra super
titans
elite
of industry.
Exactly.
So like
the Mark Zuckerbergs.
Yes. So in a couple centuries, we'll have like this quasi like dark age where like electricity still exists, but everyone's worshiping George Soros's consciousness uploaded into a supercomputer. Like, the high priests Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are like hundreds of years old. And,
I don't think Elon Musk would jump into that. He's a free thinker.
He is a bit of a
he's a radical. He's not well liked among the power elite.
No, he gets along with some.
Well, I mean, he's trying to destroy the energy movement as electricity.
Giving away his Tesla.
Yeah, technology. I mean, that's amazing. That and providing he wants to do away with power lines. He has a Tesla charger for homes.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's something. That is a real disruptive technology. Yeah. That's something that the power companies like the old man Westinghouses of the 21st century when the Tesla of our generation shows up. Like, we need to do something about this whippersnapper.
And bang, he's done.
Yeah. So like, oh, I don't know what happened. God, it was I'm sure it'll be ruled a quote suicide.
Right.
You know, like, so I don't know. Mr. Musk must have really had some demons. He stabbed himself 7 times and threw himself off a bridge. I No one saw it coming.
And they'll destroy all of his work, just like Nikola Tesla's.
Yeah. Well, his work's kept under lock and key for sure, and that we're gonna have to do a show on that, as well, because we're not going to open the Tesla can of worms. There's so many directions, a lot of which are bullshit. You can go with Tesla, but
contact with the Anunnaki,
harnessing powers of Atlantis,
all completely plausible to me. Completely.
Moving on. But yeah, see, the whole transhumanist movement. I see this. Again, this is not technology that's, at least at the beginning, certainly not in the beginning, is going to be widely available. It's going to be used by people in very powerful positions who are in contact with other people. High status people like to hang out with other high status people. And those are the first people that are going to be privy to the latest developments in this field. And they're going to be the first ones to enjoy the benefits of it. Which, you know, you can make an argument that's true of every technological innovation. Probably, rich people in 1870, whatever, were probably the first ones that had telephones. But, this is something that, the beginning of that sentence, that description, fundamentally changed the human condition. That part's true. Because think of what would that do to, family structures? What would that do to careers, to the economy?
Exactly.
No one,
everything would change.
It's the natural order of things is that old people, they pass on their knowledge. You love them, but they do eventually die and get out of the way, and make way for their successor generation. That's across all species. That's the natural order of things. And when this is not happening, what's that going to do? Yeah, it could be overpopulation. Of course, the logical next step would be some sort of artificial population control,
which is happening.
That's we're gonna go off way off. We're gonna go way off the pasture if we start getting into that. Probably. I mean, if you know anything about that, I haven't researched it much, but you'd start seeing increasingly totalitarian forms of government in order to maintain this. I don't want to use the word abomination, but this unnatural form of life that has emerged is going to need to change the structures of society in order to protect itself and to preserve this new order it's trying to create.
Well, yeah, maybe that's that. Maybe we just answered our own question. Maybe, like you were touching on before, this type of technology won't be available to a certain select people, probably the majority of people, and we'll have, Mr. Smithers or whatever, and he'll be alive for 200, 300 years, and just because he's part of this elevated class, he will get to live, and other people will live natural lives and die out.
Yes. So you see this almost like divergent evolutionary paths where you have a master class and a slave class, and then possibly going further and evolving into a master species and a slave species.
It could be. I mean, obviously not everybody's going to have this technology, so there's going to be a point where there's the cyborgs, let's just call them.
Yeah.
That's
going to happen, no question about that.
And then there's the normal humans, and they'll be seen as weaker, less intelligent, slower, and a burden on society. And there'll be the elevated people who are at this mid-range that have some of the technology to preserve, health and whatnot. Maybe they don't live forever, but they're, able to download them, say you wanted to become a nurse.
Yeah.
You have to, you don't go to college anymore, but maybe you have to pay to achieve the download for that knowledge so you can become a nurse. And that's how things are done. And you just download that information so it's automatically inside of you.
Yeah.
And that's not available to the lower classes because you don't have the money. These are just ideas. It could, who knows?
So there's a whole bunch of things there that need to be expanded on. Like you said, like the different classes, like that, reminds me a lot of the book, God, what is it? I think it's Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. Have you read that?
I have not.
Or it's almost exactly like what you just described. There's like 5 different species of humans that have been genetically engineered.
Wow.
And with the majority of them are like in the middle class. I think they go like alphas at the top, betas, like gammas, deltas, and the like the lower class is called the epsilon minus semi-moron. And their job is they're basically like retarded. Their job is to like push buttons on elevators and stuff, and throw boxes in trucks and stuff. But basically, everyone's role in society is engineered ahead of time. And there's like this tiny minority called alpha double pluses, which are like the elite world controllers. There's only 10 of them, and they have like godlike intelligence, and they can like anticipate people's questions before they even finish asking them and stuff.
Wow.
And yes, something like that could happen because people are going to use this to like create designer babies. Like everyone wants to have a genius baby. Like if you could, program your baby in the womb so that it would have 170 IQ, why wouldn't you do that?
All right.
But like, what doors does that open up? What happens when everyone starts doing it, or everyone who has the means to do that starts doing it? It absolutely does create, the beginnings of a different evolutionary path there, with like a extreme concentration of intelligence that just grows exponentially with each generation. And those people are, concentrated at the upper stratas of society, while the majority of people are, increasingly viewed as just either a burden or just
a burden. I think that's what it is.
Exploitation. And where do you think this ties in with these other like futurist movements, like the 3D printing and the concept of a post-scarcity economy?
I think that obviously we're headed in that direction. I mean, if there's one thing you could invest in right now, that would be a sure deal win. It's a 3D printing company. Sure. The technology is so fucking incredible, and it's only going to grow. I think the idea of, buildings as we know it now are going to be totally different in the next 100 years, if not 50. The technology for 3D printing is growing so quickly, it's absolutely incredible. But like that, with all the good stuff comes the bad stuff. And I think this is going into a sinister direction. I really do. I think that
has the potential for it, sir.
I think that there's the power elite that are controlling these things.
Yeah.
The technology might be available now, and they're just kind of letting people ease into it.
Are you talking about printing still, or you mean
everything?
Biotech,
the transhumanism technology. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, right now there are people who can move limbs and fingers and stuff with robotic assisted brain implants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. So the technology obviously is there, and it's only going to get better. So who knows where we're going to be in 10, 12 years. But where does this all... I mean, I don't know if you want to hit this direction right now, but this all has a purpose. And to me, and to many other people, this is all part of the umbrella. This is all falls under the umbrella of the Illuminati, the secret societies. And above that is, of course, the reigning Luciferian agenda of a one world government. I predict...
You knew it was coming, folks.
I think that...
You know what time it is.
Everything...
This is FFN.
comes down to Everything comes down to the Luciferian agenda. And that's just my opinion. I think it all, if you look at the signs, it all points that direction. And I think we're jumping a little bit, but look, the ultimate insult to God, Allah, whatever, whatever you want to call God, let's just say,
Jesus,
would be to pervert humanity. And if you're, someone who believes in the three great religions and whatnot, you know that men and humans were created in God's image. So what would be the ultimate insult to God and itself is to pervert humanity, which, yes, I guess you could say that that's already been done through sin and whatnot.
Yeah.
But physically pervert it, alter, and manipulate.
Sure.
And create, like you said, a species that is no longer human. If you can't die, you're not human. That's the one thing that makes you fucking human, is that you die.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to your 3D printers thing, but we've gone so far away from that, and this is a lot more interesting. I see what you're saying. There's a lot of issues, I think, that come up with like translation and interpret, like context and whatnot, because we are venturing into Stephen Quayle territory here. So let's just put on our wetsuit and dive in. I see what you're saying. This is like creating a separate, like, subhuman species,
right? Not subhuman, I guess.
Well, the
branch of humanity.
It would be different branches of humanity, where you have this demigod-like race of super intelligent, maybe super strong people at the top, and then the normal humans, who would be effectively rendered subhumans by comparison, who make up the majority. And again, they form sort of a peasant serf class that is basically at the mercy. It would be like that old expression from, I think, Thucydides, Peloponnesian War: the strong do what they will, and the weak do what they must. That would be the reality. You can make the argument that's the reality we've always lived in, but it would almost certainly be that case in that sort of world. And, again, you talking about manipulating biology, creation, like tying that back into like genetic modification as as a whole, not necessarily just humans, but with like animals and
cloning,
cloning, fruits, vegetables, crops.
Yeah.
You have like this. You have a world where there's basically designer humans, designer livestock, patented life forms, patented types of crops which are the property of the company that made them. You see that with Monsanto right now, like suing farmers in India to the point where they kill themselves because they can't pay the debt. And this is leading towards a world where like life is a commodity. Like life is something that's a product that can be bought and sold and controlled and regulated. Just like, oil or, cars or electronics, things like that.
Yeah, wasn't there a movie about that with Leonardo DiCaprio with the time or something? They had time in their wrists, and you know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's Justin Timberlake. That's what it was.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
about?
It's like everyone they like. that was like, I believe that was designed. The whole idea behind that story was a way some fucked up society in the future would address overpopulation. They put these like kill switches in people that kill them at like age 30 or something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Logan's Run. I think they just recycled that storyline. But rich people were able to buy more time, literally,
right.
for themselves. And people would like mug each other and steal. I forget how they did it, but they would like steal minutes of life from each other and whatnot. But getting back to what you're saying, yeah, this seems to be all heading in the direction of where everything is more controlled from a top-down perspective. Everything's heading into, again, this elite, Illuminati world system where like everything's there's like a rigid order to everything. Like everything, people's roles in life are biologically ordained.
Mm-hmm.
Someone before you're born decides what the genetic parameters in which you will exist and what your potential in life is.
It takes the variety out of life.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and yeah, it is, there's certainly you could use the term Luciferian for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that term's kind of comical, but
I mean, this is just one branch of the Luciferian tree here of possibilities that could happen. There, the ultimate goal is the one world government.
Okay,
controlled by the human pawn for Lucifer, the Antichrist, the
Anunnaki,
the
reptilian shapeshifters,
who are in the Vatican currently,
as we speak.
Yes. So, I mean, it's all pointing in that direction. These are just different possibilities of how to achieve the final end. So,
well, it seems like this is the means, like the transhumanist movement, by which, a world's order, sort of to the liking of whoever erected the Georgia Guidestones would be enacted.
mm-hmm.
You're familiar with that, right?
Of course, keep the population
under like
500 million,
half a billion, I think. And all these various,
again,
things that look good on paper or stone, as the case may be. But how is it going to happen? How is it going to be enacted? There's going to be a lot of fucking pain in order to bring that vision into fruition. There. So, like, where do you see this going? Like, what's the next big step forward? What do you anticipate seeing?
I anticipate within the next 10 to 20 years that you'll see other organizations, such as churches and social groups, promoting this stuff, elevating yourself with, downloadable education, different ideas, different technology. You're going to see the Illuminati and the Luciferian movement allying themselves with the Vatican, allying themselves with, different social groups, the Boy Scouts, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, and you're going to have
the Shriners,
the Shriners, the Masons, of course,
the Chamber of Commerce,
the Better Business Bureau, all
Board of Education,
exactly, volunteer groups. But you're going to have an entire society pushing this idea. There'll be songs about it.
I disagree. I think it's going to be like this sort of subtle top-down approach where it's a message that's like first subtly fed to you in the media, and then as over the years as people become more acclimated to it, this minority of people that pull the strings at Viacom or AOL Time Warner or whatever the fuck it is.
Fox News.
Yeah. Like
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, Rupert Murdoch and Roger Ailes are like consulting their Ouija boards. Like, what should we tell the masses today? And then, again, it'll be more and more overt and out there. One Mr. Quayle theory I heard about, this is an interesting dovetail into this, and we actually talked about this in the last show, was the the Bruce / Caitlyn Jenner transformation. And he argued that this was like kind of a proto-transhuman, if you'll pardon the pun. That Kate, he said, he was always like Caitlyn in quotation marks.
Yeah,
represents the represents the living embodiment of this Gaia Earth goddess figure that is leading us astray. And this is the harbinger, the tip of the spear of the transhumanist movement. That
he could be right.
Yeah. Well, it's. He seems to be. Quayle seems like one of these guys that just arrives at a conclusion and then works backwards,
yes.
finding a lot of things in order to support this view he already arrived at.
Yeah.
So he will. So everything he says and cites is just riddled with confirmation bias, and he'll make connections that aren't there.
Yeah.
In order to support the conclusion he already arrived at. Like that's. Do you think that's a bit of a leap? Like some guy in California, a former Olympian, paying a doctor to cut his balls off, and now he wants to wear a dress and call himself Caitlyn. Do you see the connection between that and His Omnipotent Highness, Lord Soros, uploading himself into a cyborg body in the year 2285?
I don't.
Is it a slippery slope? Is it a fallacy in that case, or is there?
I think that
is there a logical progression there?
There could be, but probably not. I think we touched on that last episode, but
we didn't get into the transhumanist.
But we got into the biological reasons, and I don't think that that's necessarily a some sort of symbolic movement of the transhuman agenda. But
hold up. Get close to the mic.
Okay.
Say that again.
I said I don't think that this is some beginning of the spearhead of the transhuman movement.
Yeah.
I don't see it as that at all. I think that the Caitlyn Jenner is just something that happened, and it'll probably fizzle in the near future.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here. Let me play the Luciferian advocate just for a second here.
Okay.
Is this not part of a campaign, a systematic campaign to acclimate people to the idea of unnatural life forms, man-made men and women, as it were? Where the next logical step being man and animal hybrids, man and machine hybrids, man and computer hybrids, man uploading his brain, his spirit into a machine, as it were, and in effect transcending the Lord's plan to escaping the fires of hell, as it were, by maintaining a permanent presence within this temporal plane here. So,
okay.
Because people would get used to seeing, life forms, as it were, created by other humans. They get used to seeing different humans made by humans. So with each passing generation, every 5 years, there's a big leap forward. It doesn't seem quite as weird anymore.
Agreed.
Like, I know we keep harping about Bruce Jenner here, but could you see a magazine like that 10 years ago?
No. With
him/her on the cover? No, you wouldn't. Now, yeah, you could link that to the whole, gay rights movement, because they were, the whole transgender thing was kind of piggybacked onto that. But,
yeah.
Again, 20 years before that, you had the Dolly the sheep thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like you can make the argument that, there is a progression of this. Each generation, it seems a little bit less weird, humans manipulating life forms in that way. Or am I making the same mistake? Am I just arriving at a conclusion and working backwards there?
I think that yes, it could be taken that way, that there's a progression and whatnot, but there's not the you can cut somebody's balls off and you can make a clone of an embryo and grow it and whatnot, which is pretty fucking advanced.
Yeah.
But I think that there would have to be way more steps in between to get to
Well,
where.
of course, yeah. I don't think anyone's disputing that.
I don't. I don't think that the whole Caitlyn Jenner thing is part of the conspiracy. I disagree with Stephen Coyle on this. I disagree completely. I think that it's just a hot topic that he had to jump on. And
he says that this says it's just like in the book of Genesis, like as it was in the days of Noah, that humans just running amok and flaunting the natural order of things. And he specifically, throwback here, folks, talks about the Nephilim and giants, and says that this transhumanism, the idea of creating a new life form, a new order of being, is exactly what the fallen angels, the Watchers, were doing when they came down and mated with human women and created the giants.
I agree with that completely.
So, and that is ultimately what led to God destroying the earth in a flood, because he was so outraged that this happened, and these beings, these giants, were so powerful and like completely out of control,
right?
That that's how he had to get rid of them. But so like, could this be precursor to some other cataclysmic event? Like you have these godlike, maybe not physically giants, but intellectual giants, technological giants, walking on the earth, like lording themselves over the rest of humanity, which has been rendered to subhuman status.
Right.
Are we not in that exact same scenario there?
Well, the only difference is, obviously, or it hasn't been proven yet, but are we creating this own destiny for ourselves, or are there fallen angels pushing humans in this direction? And I think that that's probably the case. There has to.
Like
I think that
board of directors
exactly
at the Bank of England and the
exactly.
Federal Reserve is like, excellent progress is being made.
Well, I mean, look here. Of course, I go back to one of my favorite scholars, Malachi Martin, an ordained priest. Actually, he was later came out that he was a bishop, but he was secretly ordained a bishop and promoted to a bishop by the Pope. In any event, Vatican scholar, spoke 12 languages, multiple masters and PhDs, very intelligent guy.
Yeah.
He swore in many shows on Art Bell and whatnot that there were possessed people inside the Vatican and at all levels of high society organizations.
Like controlling banks and companies and government, things like that.
So,
really?
And his take on it was that at some point in their life, they made a pact with the devil.
Yeah.
And part of that was fame, fortune, and success, but they had to do the devil's will on earth, and perhaps this is a result of it. Who knows?
So your point here is that these are the sort of people that are pushing the transhumanist movement, are going to harness it, and reap the benefits of it.
Yes. These doctors, these high-level people in Silicon Valley. I think we touched on it last time. There was a front page of Yahoo on one of the little slider feeds.
Yeah.
This is, shoved in the face of every Yahoo viewer. Google executive signed his a agreement to sell his soul to the devil, and he had his lawyer draft up this agreement, and he signed it with his own blood. And this was many, many years ago. And now he's a high-level Google executive on all these different boards and whatnot. And this just came out recently. I don't know if it was on the front page of Yahoo. I don't know if it's true or not. But the idea is that these people, many of them didn't achieve this status by...
A lot of interesting stories on Yahoo. Lately. They did the Masonic police force
Exactly.
story in California as well. So,
I don't know.
How do you think this connects to the idea of the singularity, technological singularity? Because that's basically, I am oversimplifying here, but it's an extension of Moore's law. You know what that is, right? With computers, which is where summarize it, the processing power of computers doubles every 18 months. So there's like this exponential growth that occurs every like year and a half. And this I believe that is accepted as basically the truth for how computers progress. Because, then basically a year and a half, your laptop is still good, but the one that just came out is significantly better. And twice that amount of time, 3 years, it's time to get a new laptop because it's too far behind.
Right. So you're saying that this idea could
the whole idea with the singularity is that computers will keep getting smarter and smarter and smarter to the point where they surpass human intelligence, and they have the ability to correct and redesign themselves so that this machine will build a new machine that's smarter than itself, and that machine will build another one. And from that point forward, humans would no longer be able to predict or control the direction history would go in, because it'd be completely beyond their ability to conceive of. So it seems like maybe transhumanism is kind of like an insurance policy against that. It's like humans trying to play catch up, making sure they're not left behind by the machines keep getting smarter and smarter. They want to merge themselves with the singularity and become a part of that new
that's definitely an interesting
power
idea.
Structure. It's just that there's a lot of these parallel schools of thought and ideas, and it's they're like Venn diagrams. There's so much overlap between them, but they're all kind of headed in the same direction. It's part of the larger futurist movement.
Right. That's interesting. It really is.
You seem like you have something.
I'm just thinking Terminator. Aren't you thinking the same thing? Like eventually, and then
that's one of the concerns with it, was like the computer might just become aware of what humans are and just either perceive them as a threat or just as an obstacle to doing what it wants to do, and it'll start, getting rid of them.
I think
like if the machine wants to decrease CO2 levels in the atmosphere for whatever reason, it says, oh, humans generate a lot of CO2. Well, in order to reduce the CO2, if we eliminate humans, that'll reduce the carbon emissions, so that'll solve the problem. So it'll start killing humans, not out of like fear, not out of emotion, but because of some like deranged idea that seems perfectly logical to it.
Yeah, but in that's the funny part. It comes down to those types of computers or robots or whatever. They'll never be human, ever. And I guess the question would be, would you want to go in the direction where, if you combine yourself with technology and whatnot, do you lose your humanity, or does that make you better? Does it make you more human that you can survive longer, you're quicker, you're faster, you're smarter? Is that natural progression, or is that less human?
Makes you transhuman.
Well, cyborg.
It seems like I think, given a choice between the two, I think the transhumanist movement would be more dangerous than the a technological singularity, because it kind of seems like humans are projecting their own violent tendencies onto computers. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes, a computer is really smart and it's all powerful, so that humans have a tendency to think if someone becomes very powerful, it corrupts them. well, why would a computer become corrupted? Like, why? Like, yeah, it might be able to kill humans, but why would it want to? Why would they want to take over the world? They don't have this inborn desire to achieve like dominance and control over everything. Whereas a human, a transhuman, even if he's like extremely intelligent and quote unquote evolved, he's still a human. Mm-hmm. Somewhere buried in there is still a human with those violent instincts, coupled with these newly acquired powers and extreme intellect, and it's Pandora's box from there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. That's a computer, unless it's programmed to do so, isn't necessarily going to do evil things. But like you said, unless they're programmed to a certain level to identify humans or different groups of people as a threat, then maybe they'll, I don't know, start killing people or whatever. It's, God, this is just mind blowing. I wonder what's going to happen.
I feel like you're trying to find a way to link this back to Nephilim, and it's not coming to you.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think maybe it is, able to go back to that. I don't know. I really don't. I think that's an idea, but definitely there's a Luciferian agenda.
Absolutely. There's no question about it.
I absolutely believe that, just very simplistically, the perversion of humanity, physically or spiritually, mentally, and with technology, it could be a agenda from the Luciferian people. I really do think so, because, like I said before, what's the ultimate insult to God is to insult humans and to pervert and to manipulate them into things that they're not. So that's the idea that I have. I think it ties in well into the Illuminati, into the one world government, into the Luciferian umbrella agenda. So,
are we already living among transhumans? Are they among us right now?
And there's a lot of talk about that. Are we that, along with half humans, half aliens?
Should the aforementioned hybrids, shapeshifters.
Yep. Yes. Are we living with them already? I mean, obviously, yes, we are. There's people with fake hearts.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I mean, way more advanced.
Oh, you're talking
walking among us right now,
right outside. Yeah. Who knows? I don't. Maybe there's people that have traveled time too, and they're coming back to warn us, just like Terminator. Do you think time travel is
possible? Wow, we're gonna have to get into that one. Yes, I do. All I can say for certain is they're playing recordings of this on a computer at Bilderberg meetings, going. Listen to the peons theorize. They're so far off the mark, it's not even funny. More babies. There's the little eunuch manservant waiters carrying trays of babies who aren't allowed to look them in the eyes as they serve them. Can only approach them on the right-hand side with their eyes averted. Yep.
Yeah, those are the children that are stolen from the Catholic and Native American orphanages in
Oh,
Canada.
boy.
Yeah, that are directly shipped via boat to Vatican City.
They're distributed between the Club of Rome and the Trilateral Commission. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like how we tied that together, folks?
I think it's a seamless transition.
It's a constellation of conspiracies. That's what we do every week, connecting the dots for you.
False Flag Nation.
We are just about out of time, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We are recording this on a Saturday in June 2015. By the time you listen to this, our new official website will have gone live. It is falseflagnation.com.
That's right, folks. Get on there. There's going to be, places where you can leave comments and email us.
Yep, we're gonna be starting a mailing list. Don't forget to sign up for that. We'll send you updates for new episodes, issues in the news, in the free thinking news, not the elite controlled news that you need to be paying attention to, and also things we find interesting.
And it doesn't all have to be wacky stuff either. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
Most of it's going to be pretty fucking out there, but yes.
We'll touch on some interesting topics too.
So once again, www.falseflagnation.com. Don't forget to keep following us on Facebook. Twitter's coming soon as well. And that's all we got for this week, folks. So thanks for tuning in, and
we're out.
Goodbye, folks.